Well, welcome, and thank you for coming. And I would like to start by maybe giving you a little bit of information about me. Maybe some of you don't know me very well, and you'd like to know my background a little bit. I think the first thing I'd like to say is, yes, I am a physician, but the one thing I would like to make very, very clear is that I profoundly respect the position of daughter, wife, and mother as the greatest profession that a woman could ever have. It is not that you would become a professional, go through 12 or 16, 18 years of training. This is not what you aim for. And when I'm seeing my patients every day, and I see younger women, and I have some, medical students, I have some female doctors that shadow me. I always tell them that your focus first is to be a good daughter if you're not married, a good wife if you're married, and a good mother if you're married. And that does not mean you have career aspirations. And I said, you can work and take care of your most important job, your children, and your husband, and be a good example of a godly wife in the Bible. And then after the children are grown, you can maybe come back and do some part-time work. So I'm very amenable to my lady physicians that are there. So if they want to work part-time, I bend over backwards to try and keep them and extol their first role as a wife and a mother. So how did I get into this position where I am a full-time doctor? I got married at 17, and I've been married now. This will be my 47th year of marriage. I'm 65. And my husband and I were married 11 years before I got pregnant with my sons. And so I asked my husband, he was in the military, Vietnam era time and so forth, and I was at a duty station, and there was a college a block away from the little apartment. It was only $67.50 a month back then in those years. And I asked if I could, well, he actually took me to college and signed me up. He said, stay busy while I'm, on active duty. So I went to college, and my father was a food research scientist for Armour Food Industry. How many of you know Armour Foods? Armour hot dogs, the industry, Swift, Swenson, and TV dinners when they first came out. Well, that was my father's job, was to be a research food scientist for Armour in the Chicagoland city, and get the first TV dinners ready for mass distribution. And these TV dinners they rotted. Okay, they didn't last very long. Even you've heard of freezer burn. Your meat will get freezer burn. So that's one of the projects my dad worked on. And my father was former Catholic. My mother was former Catholic. World War II and all that happened, and they just left the church. And they had 8 daughters, and I'm the 8th. They had no sons. The first 4 girls died. I never knew those older sisters of mine. All as either, like I think mom delivered at 7 months, and back in 1942, they didn't know how to take care of the low birth weights of the newborns like that. And then the other 2, one I think died of polio as a little toddler, and I don't exactly recall what happened to my other sister. But the last 4 of us, of which I'm number 8, my oldest sister, Linda, who has now passed away from breast cancer, she did contract polio as well. And she had a lisp, a weakness in her upper arm, and a little bit of a trouble with her lip. And she went on to become a Spanish teacher for 30 years before she died. And so she just looked so very elegant, you would hardly know, that she had anything wrong. She just looked so very elegant how she conducted herself. So in my family, my father being in food research and my mother having lost, and my father, of course, 4 daughters, the essence of life and the meaningfulness of life, value, became very forefront and center. And when my father was asked to start developing hydrogenated fats, how many of you have heard about hydrogenated fats? Right? Hydrogenated fats is a fat from vegetable oils usually that's very cheap, and they hydrogenate this. And I gave you a handout, this one right here. Okay? And this is a cell membrane. Do you see how this is a double layer like this? This is a double membrane layer, right? Everyone, do you kind of, let me know that I'm with you and I don't want to lose you. Okay, and so in this double layer, these are phospholipids, a special kind of fat, very important. And right around this protein, which is a receptor that kind of goes through the membrane, information will dock on the top of it, and it'll change in its configuration, and it'll spit out something inside the cell to the nucleus. Okay, makes sense? So this is a membrane, and it's a double layer fat, and it's got protein in it. Do any of you see sugar in here, fruit sugars, starch sugars in the membrane of this cell? There isn't any. This is all phospholipids, and these little wiggly things here, these groupy things that have the circles with them, with tails, those are cholesterol molecules. So these fats in your cell membrane of your body, okay, are made of 50% fat and 50% protein. That's what you are made of, folks. 50% fat, 50% protein. There are no carbohydrates in this cell membrane. See that? Now, your brain is made of 75% fat, okay, and 25% protein. So how many think fat and protein is pretty important to your cell membrane health? Yeah, all of you, do you agree? Now, you want to have beautiful skin, right? Is skin a membrane, right? So it's made of fat and protein, folks, okay? All this stuff right here is fat and protein, okay? Now, when we talk about our female uterus and our ovaries and all, that too is made of protein and fat. In fact, we're made of protein and fat and some minerals and lots of water, okay? Your ovaries on each side have a fixed and declining number of oocytes or primordial eggs, okay? And they are fat and protein too. All right? Now, I showed you another picture. I gave you this picture right here. This is the one with color. This is the same membrane picture. It's just a little prettier to look at. And on the one side, you see a healthy membrane, right? And on the other side, you see a hole punched into it. So that's what we called oxidative damage or inflammation or pain. So whenever you hurt a membrane, if you prick yourself with a needle, you are poking through cell membranes, right? Right? And these little fragments here, see the little fragments that are knocked out of place? That's like taking a baby out of its mother's arms and they'll immediately cry, right? The baby will cry if you take the baby out of mother's arms. Well, when God is so smart, God is so economical, when these wonderful little phospholipids are knocked out of the cell membrane, they have a secondary function of setting off alarms or crying and screaming. Somewhere in your body you have been hurt. Isn't that neat? That could be something like starting a fever. That could be something like creating swelling and redness. That could be something like pain, okay? And these little fragments call for help from your immune system to the injury site here. Okay? Everyone with me now? Does this all make sense? God's simple and perfect, wonderful way He made us all together. Then I gave you another picture. This is what I call my capillary man. Okay? This capillary man is a real human being. This is in a museum. They have these on display. And they infused, after death, the blood vessels with a dye, and they dissolved away all the protein and fat. Okay, so they put a hard plastic into the blood vessels, and they dissolved all the fats and proteins away with enzymes. Okay, now why am I showing you this? Okay, How many of you know what a heart doctor is? A cardiologist, a heart specialist, okay? You all know what a heart doctor is? Okay, that's that big pump right here, pumping, right? It's right in the center here, isn't it? But, and I want you to have a good heart, but are these cells any less important, these little teeny weeny tiny little blood vessels? Are they any less important? No, because if you stub your toe, yeah, maybe we could amputate your toe and you could still walk, right? But you would not want your toe amputated, right? All right, so it's important to understand all these little capillaries are throughout all your body, and it delivers through that tiny blood vessel the nutrition and the important vitamins, fats, proteins, and energy sources for every cell in your body. Like a crying baby, all your little cells in your body, if they don't get fed, and if you don't change the diaper, that cell is going to scream, or that baby's going to scream and cry, right? Right? So we are made up of trillions of cells, and they have organization from our brain to our eyes, to our muscles, to our digestive systems, to our liver, to our kidneys. So just like you have different children in your home, you have different cell groupings. One is your grouping of your cells called your brain. Another grouping is called your heart muscle. Another is called your kidneys, right? And the next one is your ovaries and your uterus, right? So just like every cell has to have its diaper changed and be fed, if you don't do that, that cell is going to poop in its pants, get a lot of toxins in its cell, and it's going to start disrupting the membrane, and these little fragments are going to come out, and you're going to start having chest pain if that's a blood vessel to your heart. It's going to give you a stroke if it's a blood vessel to your brain. It's going to give you trouble with your hormones if you don't have healthy pipes and to hold your pregnancy to the uterine lining. You have to have good vasculature down in this area and everywhere in your body. Does this make sense? All right, so I think of the big arteries like your carotid arteries, your heart, your aorta, your brachial arteries, your iliacs and your femoral and patella arteries. These are like superhighways, like I-50, I-5, or the 405, right? And then smaller vessels are like state highways, highway, state highway, okay? And then you have a city street. Those are getting more like arterials, okay? And then you go to your grocery stores and stuff on that, right? Your little city streets. And then your street road to your house and driveway is like a capillary. And the teeniest, tiny, teeny, weeny vessel is that capillary. And that's to get out of your car, walk into your house to deliver the groceries, and go out the back door and empty the garbage. Do you understand that? Now, if you don't drink enough water, okay, do you think the little nutrients and the red blood cells and all these things that are traveling in your blood cells are going to get around as easily? No, you're going to get dehydrated, and the pumping of the blood, especially the older you get, will not perfuse your brain if you're not well hydrated, okay? And then you might get lightheaded, right? If you're breastfeeding and you're not drinking enough water, you may not have enough for all the blood vessels in your breast glands to generate enough for you to make good milk, right? If you are not drinking enough water and those little cells are bumping into each other because there's not enough fluid to float in, it's like kids in a room that's overcrowded. Are they going to argue? Yes. If these kids are all stacked up in a room, are they going to maybe punch one another or kick one another or pinch one another? Yes. And so your cells are going to bump into each other and stick and start a blood clot. Make sense? So how much is the human body, let's say you're, for ease of description, let's say you're a 200-pound man, okay? Let's talk about a man, a 200-pound man. How many pounds of that man is water, would you say? All right, I'll tell you what it is. So here we have a man. We'll make him a stick man, okay? And we're going to say this man is 200 pounds. And we're going to say, what percent is he made of water, H2O? What percent?
70.
Yeah, 70%. Yeah, I would say that's about right. 70%. Does anyone have their iPhone calculator?
140 pounds.
Huh?
140 pounds.
Okay, so the pounds, here's his total, but his water weight is his biggest weight, isn't it? All right? And let's say we're talking about the dry weight. Let's say, have you ever dehydrated food? Have you ever dehydrated beef jerky? All right, so when you have that meat there, and it's wet and moist, but you dry it out, doesn't it shrink and shrink and shrink and shrink and become very, very tiny compared to that big piece of meat you had there, right? So if we took all the water out of the dry muscle, your muscles and your kidneys and your heart muscle and your brain and your liver and your pancreas and adrenals, if we took all the water out of them, we would have the dry weight left, dehydrated pancreas and heart and muscles and everything, okay? How much do you think that is composed of your body? Janelle, you seem to be doing pretty good on that.
I would guess the other 30%.
Hmm?
I guess the other 30%.
No, because there's something else. So 30%, no. I would say that's more like 20%, okay? Okay, so what's 20% of 200 pounds?
40.
Okay. I'm trusting you. You had to make me look good here, okay? 40. And then what's the other thing that I haven't brought up? It's an unpleasant topic. Fat. All right? We got fat, okay? All right, fat's good. It's a storage form of energy for us. It's a protection against your organs from banging around in your ovaries in there, right? It is also an insulator for your body, for thermal control for your body temperature, all right? And it's an energy source, okay? It also is a big toxic source too. So how much is 10% of 200? We should all know that. 20, yeah, okay. All right, so this was the dry mass, and this is the fat, okay? Everybody with me on this? All right, so how important does God make water in the human body? Super duper, fragilisticexpialidocious, yeah. Now, I would ask you, how much water do you all drink a day? Just a guess. Would someone offer what you...
4 water bottles.
All right, how many ounces are in this thing?
16.
All right, so this is a 16-ounce bottle. How many total ounces is that? 4 times 16 is?
Like 64?
Yeah, 64 ounces, okay? How much water are you supposed to drink a day?
Half your body weight in ounces.
Yes. And would you say that real loud?
Half your body weight in ounces.
Half your body weight in ounces every day. So let's say you weigh 200 pounds, like this man, okay? How many ounces is he supposed to drink a day? 100 ounces a day. How many bottles would it be of this? Oh, but 6 of them would get you to about 96, okay? I would say about 7 this big, okay? Do you know how many ounces are in a gallon? offhand? 124, okay? So this man, if he's just doing resting work, desk work, and driving to work, he needs close to a gallon, 100 ounces a day. And if he exercises, throw in another 10-15% if it's hot, and then a gallon a day, all right? Makes sense? So think of your pounds, okay, right now, how many pounds you are, and I want you to think what your water weight should be, consumption, what your water consumption should be every day. Do you have that figure in your head? Half of your pounds, okay? Everyone got it? All right. How many of you are hitting your daily ounces every day? Nobody's raising their hands. Okay? I'm glad you're close, but accidents happen, and you say, I almost missed you in the accident, right? I almost missed you, but you still had the accident. There are bare minimums. You don't want to go across a bridge that an engineer said, I'm pretty close, right? Do you want to drive with your children in a car over a bridge who a guy said, it's pretty close, right? Okay, so God has rules also for health, just like he has rules for our behavior, as Christian women, right? And that is water. And what's happening to us that we're not drinking enough water? Not anyone in here, okay? Why? Who has an idea why we're not drinking enough water?
We forget.
Why would you forget? Do you think what I just taught you right now is really, really, really important? Yes? Okay. Why would you not know something so simple as how important water is? Why wouldn't you know this if it's really, really, really important? We don't make it a priority, just like many carnal Christians, right? They don't make their Bible reading a priority. Do they get messed up in life? Yes. Do they hurt themselves and others? Yes. So as a Christian doctor, my whole life, I am overwhelmed at the majesty of the correlation of the wisdom of the Word of God and the construction of the body, and even the construction of estradiol and testosterone. So we are going to talk about hormones and fertility. This paper here, remember I gave you? I gave it to you because this is a seminar I did a few weeks ago for my patients in Tustin and their guests. And I just wanted to show you the two molecules up there on the top, okay? What are those two molecules? Estrogen, the construction, the organic signature of it, and testosterone. That's how we chemists, biochemists, communicate to each other about these things, okay? And then we can study how they behave so I can help you with your menstrual cycle, your fertility, and things like that. Now, do you see a big difference between testosterone and estradiol? You said what?
It's not a big difference.
It's not a big difference. How many agree it's hard to figure out the difference between the testosterone molecule and the female estradiol molecule? It's pretty hard to figure it out, isn't it? Yeah. God is so wonderful. I know Adam was put to sleep by God, and he took out a rib and he constructed Eve with it. I want you to know that the difference between the estradiol molecule and the testosterone molecule is one carbon atom. It's like the testosterone gave up one carbon to let the estradiol be made. And testosterone can convert into estradiol. Now, isn't it, maybe I'm a nerd, but I just get excited about these kind of facts. When I'm studying the Bible and I'm studying my biochemistry and I'm seeing problems in the world, I see lack of lifestyle, personal discipline, just like the Christian, lack of discipline to read their Bible, okay? In fact, let me get mine out. How many of you have your Bible with you? You didn't know to learn about hormones, you had to have your Bible. Okay, let's open up to Proverbs chapter 23. Verse 1. And So it gets on the recording, I'm going to read it, but would you all read it with me? We'll all kind of read in unison, we'll do that. And we're going to stop at the end of verse 3, all right, all together. Proverbs 23, verse 1. When thou sittest to eat with a ruler, consider diligently what is before thee, and put a knife to thy throat, if thou be a man given to appetite. Be not desirous of his dainties, for they are deceitful meats. All right? And this is, talking about who's a ruler. Well, in the time this was written, these are usually wealthy, well-to-do people, okay? Right? So I make a decent income as a physician, and usually if you go out with me, I would think you would expect that I would take you to a nice restaurant or cook you a nice meal there, right? Right? You just assume people who have more money have daintier foods, don't you? I mean, you do. Yeah, you really do. You expect it, okay? I did when I was a college kid. I would go to mom and dad. We had no money. We'd stop at the toll booth, had no money in the military, and we'd look for the dimes and the pennies, and I'd run around and we'd collect enough to put it in the toll booth to drive through. I mean, I know what poverty is. Well, let me tell you, just for fun, so you know a little bit about me. My father, my wonderful father, was not a Christian for many, 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 many years. And he was a scientist, and he lost the girls, and he saw horror in World War II. He saw the Normandy, okay, and all the people on the beach. So you get an idea of what my dad saw, right? So as a scientist, he saw the value of life and the losing of his girls and everything. So he decided when they asked him to hydrogenate the fats, which is going back to, where is that one? Going back to this picture of the fats in the membrane. Do you see this yellow thing here? This yellow area? Well, I want to let you know why it's so bad to eat trans fatty acids, vegetable oils, cooking with vegetable oils, because I'm going to draw you a little picture here. Let's draw this just very crudely. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18. All right, so I did it too big. Let's reverse the order. So CH, okay. And then this is a methyl group, so we'll put this CH3 carbon. All right, so this is CH3. So these are hydrogen, hydrogen, hydrogen on the tail of this little fatty acid. But this one has oxygen on it, okay, a carboxyl group. And what happens, what is the difference between oxygen and carbon? What do we need oxygen for?
My
What else? Burn. Burn. You need oxygen to burn up your logs that you eat, the fire in your tummy or in your body and your cells, and they're called mitochondria. They burn your food, right? And they need oxygen to do that, don't you? Have you ever tried stopping breathing for 5 minutes? All right. Oxygen's pretty important, isn't it? Okay. So this is a very reactive end of this fatty acid, okay? Very reactive. This is a very end of the fatty acid. And when you look at this diagram here, you will see that the ends of the fatty acid are kind of sticking out on the outside of the cell, and they're the bottom part on the inside of the cell. And why do you think God does that? This dull end, the CH3, that doesn't look too good, CH3, that's what that is. That end, CH3, is able to associate with water, okay? It can dissolve in water. But the fat part, okay, the other end, cannot dissolve in water, okay? So one end likes water, let's go swimming. The other end doesn't like water, wants to stay, hates water, hate it. And so they all organize up, all the water haters on this end, all the water lovers on this end, right? Okay? And then you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, trillions of these molecules, and you have what we call a membrane. A membrane. And this is how your baby starts to grow inside of your tummy, okay? That membrane is so important. And the bottom end on the inside of the cell does the same thing. All the water-loving end on this end, right? All the water-loving end on this end, and all the water-hating on this end. So this is a water-free zone in the membrane. It's a fat. Can you mix oil in water? No, it forms little balls, doesn't it? You get some water, put a few drops of oil, you'll see rings, right? Circles. Because all these guys, water haters here, water lovers here, okay? They're not going to mix. God's so smart, all right? It's logical. And so membranes form when you eat the right fats. But if you have a dad like mine who was paid to corrupt those fats so they don't combine with oxygen, so they don't rot and burn, so the shelf life is extended, but you eat it because we put enough sugar in it to fool you, who do you think is making money on this situation? Me, with me making all this sugar-coated, spicy flavored food that I've destroyed the double bonds and the oxygen ends of this, okay? Now, this is actually a saturated fatty acid right here. The ones that are oil, here, do you see the little difference here, folks? Where they have like a double bar? See that double bar there? Okay? Those are double bonds. That means there's more electrical activity. Excitement, okay? They're reactive, okay? So let's say we count from the carbon end. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, a double bond, okay? 7, 8, 9, a double bond, okay? So here are 2 double bonds. Let me use another color. One here and one here. And then, of course, your oxygen's hot, right, at this end. That's the definition of the essential fatty acid, linoleic acid. And Dr. Mead and his wife discovered this in 1929, okay? All these dogs and rabbits and hamsters were dying because they were trying to feed them a fat-free diet, and then they would learn one oil and they would let them have it. And if they still died, they said, well, that's not an essential oil. If we just give them coconut oil, they still die. Well, let's try another oil. Let's give them palm oil, okay? Well, they die if we give them palm oil until they discovered linoleic acid, which comes from seeds and nuts and egg yolks and liver and organ meat and grass-fed beef and fish, okay? Linoleic acid, and when they gave it to these poor little animals in the 1920s, they started to live, and their coats got beautiful, beautiful coats of hair, okay? And they got frisky, and they started having lots of babies. Could fat be important to membranes and to survival of the cell membrane and to fertility? And what's the answer, folks? Yes, absolutely. However, have indeed you been told for the most of these years not to eat fat, eat low fat? Yes. Have you been told that? Were your doctors right? I don't think a doctor could draw this linoleic acid. Now, I'm stressed up here. I might be off. This is linoleic acid right here, but it has 2 double bonds, okay? And it's 6 carbons from the methyl end, okay? Linoleic acid is essential. My dad's job was to hydrogenate, put extra hydrogen. See, they're not written in here, otherwise this would be a furry little mess and you couldn't understand it. If I add hydrogen to this, then that bond becomes solid again. If I add hydrogen to this, the bond becomes solid again. And we call that a saturated fat because I put hydrogen on every little possible place I could stick a hydrogen. So it's saturated, totally saturated fat. Get the idea? Take a hydrogen away and you get a double bond. This is what we mean by monounsaturated. one of the carbon bonds are unsaturated in this fatty acid chain. Do you know what is one carbon double bond oil that you guys love? I know you do. You're going to make a salad. Olive oil, okay? Olive oil, okay? So olive oil is a one double bond chain of 18 carbons, okay, with a carboxyl and a methyl N, okay? Simple, simple. Now, if I have two, then I just told you this is the only essential fatty acid you need. Otherwise, you die, you don't get pregnant, things like that, okay? And that's called linoleic acid. Think of LA, Los Angeles. You know, I always remember that reminds me of Los Angeles. They don't got what it takes to be good, and they're, you know, I had all these anachronisms in my head to try and remember things. So isn't that kind of neat how a fatty acid will, water lovers here, oil not, you know, hate water over here. Everyone lines up. We've got a line, okay? Next team, all the water lovers here, all the water haters in the inside. Now we've got a double membrane, and this is a membrane. Cool. Isn't this just simple, simple, fun, cool? Now, I come along and my dad is told to hydrogenate the fat so that won't combine with oxygen because this is very reactive, okay? Have you ever just left olive oil out and it goes flat? Tastes kind of icky. Your butter, well, not butter really, but have you, you know, vitamin E? You've been told vitamin E should be in a dark container where the light won't get at it. Because the light, even, you know, if this is the sun and the sun hits this, it can excite this, you know, make that double bond because it loves energy. It's full of energy. Where these guys are all satisfied. They all have their hydrogen. Everyone's satisfied. These guys without a hydrogen, they're a little nervous, okay? All right? But God makes them do special work for us, okay, in our bodies, essential things, like have a memory, like get pregnant, like heal, like help your immune system. So fats are, and tons of other things, folks. But double bonds are very important. So what is it when we say hydrogenated fats now? We're doing what to the fat? We're putting a hydrogen ion onto a double bond and saturating it so it won't react with the sunlight or the oxygen. Yeah, so it becomes very unreactive. So when you cook prior to about 1920, everyone cooked with what? Lard, beef tallow, lard and butter. Is lard a non-reactive saturated fat? Is lard, all the hydrogens all filled up? Yes, it is, yeah. Lard is solid hydrogenated fat. And you know how we know that? Just chemistry. You put the lard or the butter out and it doesn't melt, okay, at room temperature, okay? And so fats that are saturated, like lard and butter, are solid at room temperature, okay? And they're good for cooking with. Because even if I heat up, let's call this a, I'm going to do a chain here. And let's put two double bonds in here. And let's put a methyl N here and a carboxyl N here. All right, so how many double bonds are in this, creation of a fatty acid? Two. There are two here in the chain. This is the very end of it, and we call it different in chemistry as a carboxyl N, okay? So there's two double bonds in that chain. This is polyunsaturated. If we have one that is like this, and there's only one here with a carbon, here's a carboxyl N to oxygen, that is olive oil. One double bond, okay? And oxygen and light want to mess these areas up, okay? But let's finish this one here and do it like this. Let's do it here. This is methyl N. This is the carboxyl N. That doesn't have any double bonds, so it's saturated. It's got all the hydrogen. Everywhere you can stick a hydrogen, it's got one. And this is what you cook with, ladies, because it won't become injured in the high heat of cooking. So if you high heat cook olive oil or linoleic acid, your essential fatty acid, or other fatty acids, okay, all vegetable oils, all oils that are liquid are mono or polyunsaturated. So if your oils are liquid at room temperature, don't cook with them. Canola oil, corn oil, safflower oil, mazola oil, don't do that. Because the heat will damage this and it'll make it a monster molecule. And then when you swallow it into your gut, and God puts soldiers of your immune system in your sinuses, in your tonsils, all along your gut lining, acid in your stomach, digestive enzymes, all along your intestine are patches and lymph nodes of immune tissue. So if you take in a bacteria with something you ate, let's say they'd had something bad and your lettuce was dirty, your immune system is looking at it and go, hey Joe, there's a bug coming down. She didn't know it. Let's get it. And your immune system attacks that bug and you don't get seriously ill and die. Isn't that cool? How much percentage of your immune system is lining what you eat and open your mouth up to? What percent? 80. 80% of your immune system is designed by God to look at, what are you eating? What are you eating? What are you eating? What are you eating? Right? And the other 20% is elsewhere circulating. Now, let's say you cook with olive oil and it's real hot and you destroy that double bond and now it looks weird. It looks all kinked out and burnt, you know, skin falling off, you know. All right, literally, if you cook it, you're going to make this molecule weird. When you swallow that in your gut knows what olive oil it is. Go, give it to me. I can make other things with this. Give me more. I like it. Give it to me. Okay? And it'll say, olive oil. And it'll be absorbed and it'll go into construction in your body. But if you cook with it, or you eat Cheetos, or tortilla chips, or potato chips, or Ritz crackers, or any processed food in a box, it's got hydrogenated fat so it won't rot. Isn't that terrible? Hydrogenated fats are on that thing abnormally so it won't rot, okay? And if you cook with it, you destroy it and your immune system goes nuts. Now, why do you think we have so much heart disease and cancer and diabetes?
Because of these fats.
Yes, part of it is fats. Guess what? How much carbohydrate does a human being need? Essential, for life. How much do you need every day of carbohydrates, starch, and sugar? Fruit sugar. 0. You saw the notes. Yeah, 0. We can make glucose in our body. It's called gluconeogenesis. You don't need one carb. Not one. Babies don't even need it, okay? All right, so you do need fat and you do need protein. And that's what this man looks like here, doesn't he? Okay? He's got water, he's got protein, dry mass. Minerals are included here, the minerals and calcium in that dry weight. And he's got fat. So you've got to get protein and fat in your diet every day. And you need a lot more fat than you've been told. You've been told not to eat it. So you're not getting your essential fats. You're eating hydrogenated wicked fats, and your body is irritated with this. And in the grace and mercy of God, we can take a lot of hits. But then we start getting PMS, migraines, acne, polycystic ovarian syndrome, one of the #1 causes of infertility, because we're eating so many sugar-flavored, trans fatty acid, hydrogenated, cheap, quick, packaged, processed foods. We're all doing it. You got to back away from that, okay? You have to, if you're going to be home and lift us out of this. Do you know what the rate of cancer is, your risk of cancer? It's almost 1 in 2, okay? So there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So 4 of us are at high risk, very probable in our lifetime to get cancer. Do you like those odds? What is the risk of heart disease, the probability of heart disease? Almost 1 in 2, right? Right? So if you have a 50% chance of a heart attack or a stroke, heart disease, and you have a 50% chance of cancer, and I'm not even bringing up diabetes, by 2030 you'll have a 50% chance of that. What do you think your future is, ladies? Your fertility, your children's health. We've got a problem, don't we? Don't we? We're eating way too many carbs. Way too many carbs. We should primarily be looking at where's the protein and the healthy fats in my diet. Saturated fats like butter are excellent to cook with and use. There's wonderful nutrients in them. And when I speak, I'm always talking about grass-fed, free pasture range, okay? Wild fish, all right? So if I just say meat, you know I'm talking about organic, okay? So we got to change this, ladies, right? So you got to up your water, okay? Because in your ovaries are those little oocytes, right? And they have to have a little capillary, a little pathway to get to them, right? You have ovarian arteries, okay? Veins and lymph. And you have to get enough water in, and you have to put in healthy fats and protein for the membranes so you keep your eggs healthy as long as possible, right? Yeah. Any questions? Let's look at that handout I gave you. The list with the questions on it. Let me just make sure for time's sake that I'm hitting them. So number 1, are there any minimum daily requirements for carbohydrates? The answer is no. Fructose is a chronic dose-dependent toxin. Are you aware of how toxic fructose is? All right. Sugar, the white granulated sugar, is 50% glucose, a 6-carbon ring. So a glucose molecule, each point is a carbon. So there's a carbon, 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 carbon. And this is glucose, okay? And fructose is a 5-carbon ring. Fructose. Now, do you know which is sweeter by taste? If you were tasting glucose molecules, all right, versus molecules of fructose, which is sweeter? Fructose. By far. Fructose is even above what we call the glucose index for sweetness. And that's why it's in about 80% of the 60,000 processed foods that you can buy. And what is the worst food that it's in? Well, let's go through this. Fructose is 5 carbons, glucose is 6 carbons, okay? We know what to do with glucose. Our body, every cell in our body can use glucose and burn it for energy. Every cell. How many cells and places in your body can use fructose? None, except, none. And so there you are taking fructose, and it has to go to the liver because it's not metabolized anywhere in the body. So what is a product or an item or a molecule if you take it in and it has no use in any part of your body cells, and only the liver, which is your major what organ? Detoxification organ, okay? For poisonings and all that. Where does alcohol go primarily? In the liver, okay? And you get liver diseases, the chronic alcoholic, and death from cirrhosis. So doesn't fructose almost sound like alcohol? Yes, it does. In fact, they're basically identical, damaging, toxic molecules to the human body. Now, let's go down to the next one. So fructose is a chronic dose-dependent toxin. So yes, you can have an occasional apple, and the lowest fruit sugar fruits are berries. So strawberries, blueberries, raspberries, blackberries, and they're the highest in antioxidant polyphenols, which help us stay alive and help protect us from the burns of these things. But if you take fructose or alcohol into your liver, it's going to create a lot of free radicals, which we call reactive oxygen species. Remember I said oxygen and these double bonds are very reactive. And so if you take a lot of fructose and alcohol, let's put a booze bottle here. I don't even draw it well. All right, so that's a booze bottle. So that's metabolized in your liver, and they create a lot of oxidative stress, and they give you, use up your energy of your liver, and it makes your liver produce materials that are, who's ever heard of very low density lipoproteins, VLDLs? You've heard of your total cholesterol, your LDL cholesterol, your HDL good cholesterol, and your triglycerides, and very low density lipoproteins. You've heard of that? All right, and they say if you have a lot of very low density lipoproteins, that's a bad thing, very bad. Well, I can tell men who are drinking, I can tell teenagers, I can let their mothers know what I think they're doing, okay? I can look, okay? And on an aside, remember I said a man's testosterone molecule, remember the testosterone molecule can turn into estradiol? Remember that? I said that? Well, estradiol, when you say the word, I'm going to write the word alcohol here. Let's do that here. Alcohol. Then I'm going to write the word estradiol. Do you see a similarity in the term all here? Estradiol. Maybe you can't see that too well. Now, everyone say the word with me, alcohol. Alcohol. Now, everyone say the word estradiol. Estradiol. They both end in a all, okay? And that's a, like you saw the carbon, the carboxylon, that's another kind of end of the molecule. So, what is one of the actions of our female hormone estradiol? What is one of the actions? It does act a little bit like alcohol. It's an alcohol, okay? And so it makes us mellow. When you hit menopause, do a lot of women you've heard get bitter and snappy and irritable? When you hit menopause and your estrogen levels go down, your estradiol goes down, you're less mellow. Does that all make sense now, ladies? Okay? And a man, let's do testosterone. 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 Is testosterone an alcohol by classification? No, it's quite different. It's actually a type of molecule that is very stimulating. All right, and that's where men get their, I can do this. I can take the world on. I can provide for my family. But did we say that testosterone, for the change of one carbon, this is 19 carbons, this is 18 carbons, for one carbon's chain, one carbon less, basically, it can turn into estradiol. So if your husband's eating a lot of junk food, bad fats, not enough protein, not enough water, okay, right? If he's eating these things and his free radical oxygen species are going up and he's not rinsing them out, okay, then it's going to hurt his structure of his molecule here. It's going to hurt it, and it's going to make it move toward estradiol. And he's going to get a little more mellow and not worry about doing his job of providing for you and protecting you. Is this not amazing? Do you all have an understanding of what's really happening to our society? With all the stress, with all the bad food, with all the carbs, all the fructose coming into our livers, creating free radical species. Do you know what the testosterone level of young men in my office is average today? I'd say it's 250. 250. And that can be normal for a woman. I've seen women with that much, okay? But do you know what the male testosterone in an 18-year-old used to be in the 1970s when I was in the military? I was in the military as a doctor for many years. 1,600. So do you think if a man loses from 1200 down to 250, or maybe he never even got there, and that's what I'm suggesting. Young men today don't even know what it's like to have a testosterone level of 1200, 1400, Now, there are toxic levels, okay? But these were the levels that were normal years ago. So you want your husband to have healthy sperm? That membrane on that sperm is dependent on healthy fats, good nutrition, enough water, and less fructose and free radical generation. All right? So this is a conjoined thing. Making sense now, ladies? Isn't this making sense? Now, what does the birth control pill do to girls? Well, we know it's not to make them loose and casual about having sex, right? That's what we're taught in medical school. It's all for altruistic purposes to make sure you don't have PMS, right? Rather than telling you to drink more water, take some enzymes. And so that birth control pill in tons and peed out is also getting in the environment, and we call those xenoestrogens, okay? And the young men and the plants and the food are getting it. They're eating too much soy, and that's promoting this as well. And another thing, the girls who are on the birth control pill really don't have adequate estradiol levels. I've been measuring them for decades. Girls on birth control pill have really, really, really low estradiol. Really, really low, okay? And girls on birth control, usually and often, and this is associated with polycystic ovarian, have very high testosterones relative to the really, really low estradiol. And what does it make the girl like? It makes her aggressive, women live kind of thing. It makes her biochemically more male-like. And what kind of a recipe do we have, folks? We have these free radicals, too much fructose, corrupted fatty acids, toxins, xenoestrogens in our husbands and our sons, and the fertility's dropping, and their testosterone's dropping, and they never knew what it was like to really say, I can do this. I can get it done. And then we have girls who are being thrown the pill, helping to estrogenize the world, and then what's happening? They're really, really low, and they're getting more testosterone effect and belligerent. Do you think that's good for a marriage? Okay? This is my clinical experience. All right, so let's do these last ones here. All right, so you've seen how fructose has no metabolism in any cell of the body. It little bits, with a modest amount. Now, do you think everyone had gobs of bananas and berries and strawberries and mangoes and watermelons and papayas and peaches, right? And pears? Do you think we all had a lot of that up until about 80 years ago? No, we didn't. Do you remember the movie Oliver Twist, the little boy in the orphanage in London, England, and the big bad schoolmaster was there, and the little boy, Oliver Twist, goes up and he wants more porridge. He says, more, sir, please. And he's astounded that the boy would ask for more food. Anyway, ring a bell? All right, so I'm 65. Okay. He got an orange in the movie for Christmas, and he was ecstatic to have an orange in the 1800s. Okay, folks? So we are way overdoing. There's fruit in our gummies for our kids, fruit juice. So that's why I don't say don't drink any juice. Don't give your child apple juice or orange juice or anything like that. Give them water. Raise them to be a strong Christian from early on, okay? But you set the example, right? And then there are other options that we can help you with. So we said sugar is 50% fructose, 50% glucose, and the liver, we said, detoxifies toxins, and now we realize that since that's where fructose goes, it fits the definition of a toxin. Processed foods like apple juice, orange juice expose you to extremely high fructose levels. How many of you, when you were a little girl, remember orange juice at the restaurants in real little glass? It used to be a 6 or 4 ounce little serving. It was sipping. Now we have these, you want more orange juice, you want more orange juice? No, when I was a little girl, half and half came in a little tiny glass bottle. My mother would pour it in her coffee, and I'd get in and I'd stick my tongue into the bottle, And juice came in little tiny little things, very rare treat, okay? You folks that are not in my age group, you need to hear how you're being corrupted and how you're being destroyed with all this juice. All right, the average American, number 7, eats 150 pounds of sugar, which is 75 pounds of fructose a year. That's huge. You want to know how much they ate in 1900? 10 pounds. Do you think everyone could have a Twinkie or a Bun Bun or a cake or a brownie or a M&Ms or get a Slurpee Derpy at the Slurpee coffee store? Do you think they could do that in 1900? Of course they couldn't, right? Now I missed 6. I said giving juice to children is similar to giving them a can of beer. All right? Because you're messing them over and giving them a toxin that was designed to be processed like alcohol. All right, number 9. Americans eat most of this sugar as drinks. Most of this is coming in sodas, right? Juices. This is really where it's coming. Number 10. Fructose metabolism inside that cell creates a waste product called uric acid. Do you know anybody who has gout? That's inflamed toe, joints, gouty arthritis. Yeah. That's where it comes from. And we're seeing tons of it today. The other thing uric acid does is it blocks nitric oxide synthetase, an enzyme that helps your blood vessel dilate so you can have normal blood pressure. So the older you get, you pile up years and years of damage from high fructose corn syrup, okay, and fructose, and you make more uric acid and you get high blood pressure. Okay? I mean, I could go on for hours and hours and hours. There's many other things, but I think these are the ones you'll identify with. Number 11, obesity is linked to infertility in men and women. And that obesity reflects that they've been eating all this instead of plenty of water and protein and minerals and fats. They've gone for the tortilla chips, the salsa, which is primarily just a liquid carb tomato dip, okay? It's carbs. And you should get a little book or an app on your cell phone and say, let's say salsa. How many of you guys like salsa here? All right, let's see how much carbs are in salsa. And you know, when you dip and dip and dip in that 16-ounce jar, you dump it in, that's gone, right? So somebody ate something there. All right, salsa. I mean, just as an example, salsa, S-A-L-S-A, right? Salsa, right? Oh, S-A-L-S. Haha, duh. S-A-L-S. Okay. Just for fun, S-A-L. No, they don't have it here, so I should have brought my dictionary. But if you take crushed tomatoes, you're going to get, 20 carbs, okay? And how many carbs do we need? 0. So I think anyone who is eating more than 100 carbs a day is criminal. And I try and stay under 25 carbs a day, okay? And yes, if you're very hardworking in construction, your husband can have some more carbs, but they should be the complex one, not the candies and juices and white breads and things like that. Let's go to, so don't let your men's sperm get all free radical damaged, from all these toxins, and then lack of fatty acids and lack of water and lack of protein for the membrane, and help them eat right. Insulin resistance is linked to infertility. So what hormone comes out when you eat a piece of bread or drink juice or eat a piece of fruit or drink a soda? What hormone comes out immediately? Insulin. You're on it, Janelle. You are good. Insulin. And do you know how much insulin should come out? Do you think your doctor knows how much should come out? No, they don't, because they don't study this stuff and they don't require it. So insulin, if you haven't had anything to eat for 8 to 12 hours, your insulin in your blood should be almost nothing. I shouldn't be able to sense that hormone in your blood. But you know what I see some people at? 60, 120, 400, and they haven't eaten anything for 8 or 12 hours, and they're going, oh, I'm hungry, I don't know if I can fast for 10 or 12 hours. They're addicted to carbs through the screaming action of that insulin saying, where's the carb? Just shove somewhere. And they're shoving it into fat and fat and fat and visceral fat, And so we have an insulin resistance because when your cells have seen so much sugar and so much insulin knocking on the door, hello cell, I have a delivery of glucose for you. And the cell goes, no, we've had too much. No, I got all this glucose I'm going to give you. Please, open up. Okay, that's called the cell is saying insulin resistance. Don't open up the door and let that sugar come in. We've had enough. Insulin resistance. And you eat yourself into it, and that's called diabetes type 2. Okay? And you can eventually eat yourself into diabetes type 1, where you'll require insulin, okay? Or insulin-dependent diabetes type 2, okay? Most Americans are vitamin D deficient. Now, what kind of vitamin is vitamin D? It is a fat-soluble vitamin. Because guess what? Guess where vitamin D is made from? Do you see this cholesterol molecule here? These little wiggle boxes? See that on here? The little 4 boxes? Do you see the cholesterol molecule in the membrane? All right, everyone see that? That's cholesterol. And guess what is the precursor to vitamin D? A molecule of the cholesterol. See, I thought you were told cholesterol was bad. Did you know that now they're changing after 50 years, they're finally admitting they were wrong to tell you not to eat fat. They were wrong to tell you to be afraid of cholesterol. Wrong to tell you to be afraid of egg yolks. Wrong to tell you to be afraid of bacon and sausage and the skin on your chicken. Wrong to tell you to be afraid of eating prime rib fatty meat. Wrong. They were the ones telling you to eat all this carb, starch, grains. They were wrong. So here we are in America, and vitamin D is so important to fertility, okay? It's a fat-soluble vitamin made from cholesterol. And I would say about 95% of people are low in it. And most people don't know it has to be the vitamin D3 cholecalciferol. A lot of them are getting it as D2 at cheap over-the-counter store things. Low vitamin D is linked clearly with cancer because what is one of the things other than helping your fertility that vitamin D does? It boosts your immune system, your T cells, and many other immune cells. Now, vitamin D is so low, and I see it all the time. I give my patients 5, 10, 20,000 international units a day. And the daily requirement, they recommended in 1991, I think they did the committee on what are vitamin levels to give. Do you think they would base this on science? They based it on when a kid gets rickets from vitamin D deficiencies and their legs bow out, right? Because their bones don't get built well because D is involved in bones and healthy teeth and the sinus formation of your babies. When your D is low, your immune system's low, your baby's teeth are bad, your immune system is low, and guess what? You get colds more, you get viruses more, you get infections more, and you get cancer more. Are we seeing a lot of cancer today? Is almost 90% of all Americans low in vitamin D because you were avoiding butter and things like that? All right, well, the truth came through. All right. Low vitamin K2, this is even more exciting than vitamin D. Vitamin K2, that's not the vitamin K1 from dark leafy green vegetables like spinach. Vitamin K1 is in your blood clotting, helps you clot your blood. And your little newborn babies, they test the blood clotting right away to make sure that they clot. They test their thyroid. Well, that's vitamin K1. Vitamin K2, they didn't even look at it because we don't get money for research usually. It goes to drugs and surgery and prosthetics, but we don't get a lot of money for research into nutrition. And vitamin K2 was hiding under there, and it was where do you get vitamin K2 from? Grass-fed butter, which you haven't been eating. Vitamin K2 comes from the egg yolks of pasture-free roaming chickens, not those stuck in a cage or like that. It comes from your liver. It comes from the meat of grass-fed cows and grass-fed animals, and it comes from cheeses like gourd cheese or brie cheese or, aged cheeses. The more aged, like a lot of people think Limburger cheese really stinks. I love it. Blue cheese, I love it, It's full of vitamin K. And so you have perfect teeth without having to have braces, you see? And it comes from goose liver, liver pate, eat the organs of your turkeys. Now, how many of you heard of the French paradox? People in France eat butter on their bread there, but they don't have genetically modified breads. And they have wine every day, but they don't get as much heart attacks. And that's called the French paradox. Why can they eat bread and butter and wine and not have a high death rate from, these things? Well, here's the answer. They eat brie and liver pate, goose liver pate, all these delicate things all the time in those fats in the butter. And it's protecting them from heart disease. Do you know that vitamin K can take the calcium out of your arteries for coronary heart disease and put it back in your bone and your teeth? Is that not exciting? That's exciting. That's amazing. And so vitamin K2 is lowering or being associated. People who consume vitamin K2, we're not seeing cancers, we're not seeing heart disease, and we're not seeing diabetes, we're not seeing dental problems at all. Do you think you should be on K2 if you're pregnant or you want to have a healthy baby? Yeah, eat liver, okay? 6 ounces once a week.
I have a question. If you want to take a vitamin D supplement, what kind do you recommend?
I make it. See, I was a chemist, biochemist, so I fly out to where I'm at. I practice medicine based on this rather than writing scripts for drugs. Now, if I need a drug, I will use it, okay? But I try and get them off as soon as I can. All my vitamins are research proven and clinical. And if you go to my website, I did bring you, a website if you want to see a little bit about our clinic. You'll see that I have publications on there. I do research and I publish on this. And I'm essentially a specialist in heavy metal detoxification and in fatty acid publication, cell membrane, and giving energy and restoring health back to people. So look on the website, tlcdoctors.com, and go to the research there. And you can learn about the problem we're facing is if there's sin here, and even carnal Christians aren't taking care of their body or reading their Bible, so they get sick bodies and they have a lousy Christian walk. Do you think non-Christians are going to have the real thing at Costco or at Walmart or at the drugstore? The label might say vitamin D3 even, but do you really think anyone's checking to see if that really is in there? And you're basing that and hoping your dad's heart disease will improve? We're full of deceit, people. Full of deceit. So I have researched this. So where to get it? I would say you have to be with a doctor who can test your blood and make sure the product you're getting is being absorbed and is effective. Otherwise, I have it. Okay. The next thing is 16, vitamin A. What is vitamin A? Is that fat soluble? Yes. Vitamin A is fat soluble. And where do you get it from? Liver. Again, here we're going back to goose pate, egg yolks and stuff, all the things that we haven't been eating, okay? So our membranes have been damaged, folks. I'm seeing more cancer in younger people than I've ever seen in my life. And these membranes in the immune system are being harmed and we're failing. And we have been too afraid to eat these healthy fats. Now they're bad fats. Don't eat, trans fatty acids and, hydrogenated fats. Don't eat processed food. Enjoy your butter. Enjoy your lard. Cook in it. Put butter on everything. Eat the skin of your chicken from free range, Vitamin A is fat soluble. It's called retinol. How many heard of an acne medicine called retinoic acid? Yeah, that's for acne. And that's very risky for a potentially pregnant woman because that can cause a genetic mutation in a developing baby, and you do not want to be on excess vitamin A, and you certainly don't want to be on retinoic acid for acne if you're trying to get pregnant, okay? Now, the yellow of carrots and the yellow of, squash, those are beta carotenes. And so you've seen people who have eaten too many carrots and their skin looks yellow, their palms. Have you ever seen that? It happens. Well, that's not vitamin A, that's a precursor. So beta carotene is a precursor to become retinol. But you gotta have enzymes, and that's a whole nother topic. Vitamin E, what kind of vitamin is that? You ought to know the rhythm now. Vitamin E is what kind of a fat? Yeah, it's a fatty vitamin. So vitamin E is fat, A is fat, K2 is fat, D is fat, okay? Vitamin E can help reduce infertility in men and women. It's a powerful antioxidant. It does so many things. I mean, I could do a lecture just on any one of these, but I've been trying to show you the problem, give you a little understandable life chemistry for taking home, and then a series of things for your fertility, okay? So, number 18, avoid processed foods. Why?
The hydrogenated fats.
Right, it's got hydrogenated fats. To do what? To extend the shelf life. Yeah, so it can be up on the shelf for 6 years, okay? Or that's an exaggeration, but too long, okay? It's not, the rats won't eat it. They'll eat the cardboard box. They won't eat the food in the box. Yeah, we've seen that. Why don't we also want to eat processed foods? Yes, because usually when you ruin the molecules with chemical messing around, the taste is off. Like, you know when you taste butter, oh, it tastes exquisite, right? But then when you're tasting some of these fake fats, you know, it's off or something. Or you cook with it or make a cookie with it or bake with it or chips with it. So they have to put in flavors and salt, or sugar. Don't buy processed foods. I bake, you know, I work full time, I research, I lecture, praise God. And I bake my own bread. And it is low carb bread, it's keto bread, it's 1 gram per slice. And I make cloud bread, which is no carb bread. So I can actually have a hamburger and it's like, tastes great. I invite you to my house. I open it up the 3rd Saturday of every month. I teach at my home, okay, for my patients. I live a block from where I live, where I work. I live a block from where I live. and I show these things. And you can look at my refrigerator, and I have a lot of patients who come over just to see, you know, what I eat, because I'm no thin mini, you know. But I can go 5 days without eating, and I work and work and work. And that's called fasting, and because I got through my addiction to carbs many years ago. And I can go 5 days without eating twice a year. That's my cleansing time. And I fast 2 days every week. Because I'm 65 and I want to be here for you until I'm 105. And help teach you. And help be here for you. So we have an army of healthy parents and men and children who knock doors, saving their souls, and you helping, keeping them well to do it another day. All right. Lastly, 19, eat pasteurized raised eggs, poultry, grass-fed meats, wild fish. Now on the fish thing, the bigger the fish, like if it's a tuna or, you know, a big tuna, what's another big fish? I can't think of one, but tuna, okay. The big fish eat the little fish, and there's mercury out there, and mercury can be bad for the pregnancy and fertility, okay? Now, I know how to get rid of this. That's what chelation is about, and I do that too, but I just want to tell you, smaller fish like haddock, sardines, tilapia, salmon's okay, you know, salmon's decent. These kind of fish are good, okay, the smaller fish. Herring, all right? So I want to cover one more verse here. Let's go to Job, and let's go to Job 23. So these we're both in the chapter 23. Job 23 now. And I want to go down to verse 12. And I'm going to read the second part of that verse, okay? So we're going to read the second part of it where it starts with, I have esteemed the words of his mouth more than my necessary food. So if you're having trouble with carb craving, bad food eating, this is what I put on my refrigerator so that I can be a good example also physically, okay? I'm not trying, I don't care whether you think I'm really pretty or whether you think I dress great or not. I want to be honorable, okay? So, I have that on my refrigerator, and I'm always checking my weight, and I want to be here and stay healthy for a long, 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 long time. So, any questions?
Yes.
Yes.
How much, this, look for my mom, because my mom was obviously raised like with real conventional medicine. Sorry, my mom was raised like with real conventional medicine and to trust the doctor and stuff. So, like, can you explain to her how much does a doctor, like your average family practice doctor, actually know about this stuff, about diet? How educated are they and stuff like that?
They are not educated on that. Otherwise, they wouldn't be pushing fish oil, for example, and they would be telling you to take, 5 to 10,000 international units as an adult woman, 100 pounds or over. Kids, I would say 2,000 international units of cholesterol. I practice safe medicine. I check my patients. I give them a dose. I recheck the level, and I reassure them, because when they go to their regular doctor, they'll say, I'm on vitamin D 10,000 a day, and the doctor will go, oh, that's toxic. All right? They do this to me all the time. And then I have the blood level, I show it to them, and I like the blood levels higher. For instance, I like a serum blood level of vitamin D at 80 to 120. Now, the typical range on your lab is 30 to 60, all right? But if we look at where all that cancer and heart disease and diabetes is suppressed and not showing up in the population who have 100 for their vitamin D level, why wouldn't I have you get there, right? Why wouldn't I give it to me? I don't want you to get cancer, heart disease, diabetes, Alzheimer's, right? So they're behind. I am sorry. Now, if I get hit in a car on the way home, I want to be at the best American standard, hospital for trauma care, okay? We are awesome. We're the best. But as far as chronic care, they've blown it, okay? We have too much heart disease, too much cancer, too much diabetes, too much cancer in the younger people. I have a 30-year-old fighting stage 4 cancer. Stage 4, she should die, okay? And a 30-year-old who had, she was 4.5 months pregnant, and they thought she looked too big for 4.5 months pregnant with her little boy. And they did the ultrasound, and they found stage 4 ovarian cancer. Now, I've never seen this as a doctor practicing 40 years. I've never seen 30-year-old women come into my office. That was not on my radar. Oh, it's on my radar now. It's on my radar now. Yes. And fortunately, with nutrition and everything, I helped keep that lady alive until that baby was born, the little boy. Then, she thought she could eat more carbs, and she quickly went under the water within 4 weeks. So whereas she was supposed to pass away, maybe in March, of that year, she passed August 31st. So I was able to get the baby born and her be functional and all these things with him. With the Lord's help, all glory to God. Amen and amen. And I would ask you to pray for me, please, and for my clinic. Because we want to give the best medicine, which is preventive medicine. But if you have a disease and you need a medicine, I'll give it to you. All right, that's appropriate. If you need a specialist and I can't figure it out, I'll refer you. But most everything can be handled by your general practitioner, and that's what I am. I'm a general practitioner, which means I see anything. Delivered babies, been in surgery, and so forth. But everything pretty much can be prevented. Let's start preventing that. Let's start having healthy cells so we can have healthy ovum and healthy sperm and more healthy children, and give them the gospel to build up that army of people who are soul winning. So I kind of see what I do is like I'm not soul winning as a doctor there. I share the gospel. You think if you look, you'll see my video there, and I'm reading out of the Bible right there in my video at work. I share the gospel with people all the time, every week at work, okay? Some of them get saved too. Some of them, they come here. You've seen me bring some people. So I'm doing health saving. I'm doing health saving, okay? And praise God that God says, for you're saved by grace through faith, and then not of yourselves is the gift of God, not of works, lest any man should boast. And, in Jude, it talks about saving them out of the fire and so forth. So some people are going to stay carnal Christians, and they're still saved, okay? Some people are going not take care of their health, and they're going to be a poor example and succumb to the diseases because they're not disciplined to take care of their body and do the right thing. Instead of going out to eat or buying, a trip to Disneyland, getting some good vitamin D, okay, in your house or so forth, things like that, basic things. You got to love them all the way through it. Because my father finally became a Christian later in life, okay? Praise God. He finally got over his science and love of science. You can tell I took after my dad, okay? And he finally bowed his knee and accepted Jesus Christ. Now, I'm not sure that he won any soul at all. But thank God I have the Word of God to stand knowing that he's saved, Isn't that wonderful? Mm-hmm. So if you see someone who, you might see him, I don't recommend drinking, but you see him drinking at a party, Christmas or something, or you see someone smoking, or you see someone overweight or something, please be loving to them, okay? Please encourage them to eat better. I guess that's it. I don't have anything more unless you have another question or two. I had a ball doing this, and there's so much more I could tell you about PMS, polycystic ovarian syndrome, all these other things. But we've been here an hour and 20 minutes, so I better stop. But I could go on and on and on and on. I love this. I want us to be the best. Again, I respect you for being a mother that brought in these beautiful children here to the Word of God. I respect you, okay? I hurt because I did not do that. I have some problems with my family, my marriage, my sons, because I was not raised by a father who was a Christian. I was not protected. I made wrong decisions. I suffer them this very day, okay? Do not think for 1 second that I feel proud or better that I have an MD degree and make more money, okay? I am, if I could change anything, I know what I did wrong and I should have stayed home, okay? I should have stayed home. I didn't. I failed my children and my husband. So be clear. They're all grown now and they're all out of the house, and and I want you to know my husband gave me permission to be a doctor. I was trying to be a Christian as a stupid little 17-year-old, All I said when he asked me to marry him, I said, "Are you a Christian? I've got to marry a Christian." That's the simplicity of my, Catholic parents' influence. I was like, I knew I had to, and I want to tell you something. I lived on a dirt road in northern Illinois, cornfields. That's where my father moved out of Chicago, got a cornfield, built a one-room house. I grew up in a one-room home, no toilet, no brothers to carry out crap and dump it and put lye on it. No heat. We had a fireplace and a potbelly stove, and guess who had to split logs all summer to have cords and cords and cords of logs for our fireplace and our potbelly stove? Me, okay? So I never got a date. I had arms like this, man, calluses. Here comes Rita, Zeman. and John came up to me. I didn't know about going to church or anything like that. Of course I'm going to marry him. He's a wonderful man, okay? Now, all those years I'm on this dirt road, on the other side of Lake Street is Medina Country Club, okay? And back in the 60s, Barbie dolls started, princess phones, the Beatles, right? I'm growing up in a one-room home because my father's eccentric, not because we're poor, because he wanted us to be back to earth. And my girlfriend down the dirt road, farm road, there was a Medina Baptist church a mile from where my farmhouse was. A mile. And I went to one little Awanas gathering of little girls. Not that I support Awanas, but I went to the Baptist church, Medina Baptist church, and some older woman, she said, Rita, do you want to accept Jesus? I mean, when you play Awanas, you learn a little Bible. And I was hungry. She took me up to the chapel and led me in the Romans Road at 7. And I accepted Jesus Christ. Now, why didn't they soul win and go 1 darn mile down the street to knock on my farm door so I could maybe, have a better life and have learned about God and not made all the mistakes I made? Nobody went 1 mile down the street to knock on my door. And my little girlfriend, she didn't stand for me. I'm glad she said there was an Awanas thing. But do you see, folks? If you don't go soul winning, look at the impact. Had they gone 1 mile down the street to help me learn about a church that I could have learned the gospel truth. Instead, I was doing stupid stuff. I was an internet Christian. I was in the Assemblies of God. I was in the Pentecostal. I was sitting under the foot of a woman preacher. Oh, I can't believe it. Do you see how stupid I can be? So don't think I'm up here proud. Soul win. Soul win. Soul win. Some little girl out there, a little boy, needs us to walk that mile. I better stop.